What up, world? Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. You already know what it is. We got a premiere today. This is presented by Waxvillain and Soul Tune Records. Nick and Wax, Soul Brothers. We got Dynamite cuts coming through. Keep it locked. We'll kick things off shortly. Dynamite cuts in the building. I see John Lowe. Appreciate everybody. We got 4 on the line. DJ Gurry, appreciate you, brother. I see you, Denise, appreciate you. In the Souls in the building. We got 8 on the line. I see my man Jake. All right. Nick from Soul Tune's gonna be joining shortly. We'll kick things off, y'all. Malachai, how are we? How's it going, brother? Malachai, can you hear me? We got a little bit of lag going on right now. Oh, there we go.
Is that better? Is that a bit better?
I'm loving it. It is, yes.
Result.
All right. Nick's in the building. We're going to kick things off shortly. I appreciate everybody on the line. We got 16 at noon. That's great. My brother.
How you doing?
Man. You good?
Yeah, man. Do you hear me?
I hear you.
All right.
Crystal clear. If you guys are ready, I'll go ahead and kick things off.
I'm good.
I want to welcome everybody to the premiere episode of Nick and Wax Soul Brothers. This is presented by Soul Tune Records. The whole idea of our show is to talk funk and soul, but on a global level. I wanted to get the lens of some of my friends from Europe and have them talk about funk and soul the way they see it, the way they've lived it, so that a lot of my friends in the States can find out about some great labels, some great musicians, but more importantly, get different perspectives on the music. I see Nick dropped. He's going to come back in a little bit. I'm very, very excited. We've got about 7, 8 questions today. This is a lunchtime thing, so we're thinking 30, 35 minutes. Our guest needs absolutely no introduction. I have been tracking this gentleman for quite some time. For those that don't know, there's an awesome label in the UK called Dynamite Cuts. And they take lost gems like this, and they make it 7-inch 45s, okay, with a beautiful album cover double sleeve right here, what you see in the front and the back. I've been tracking a lot of Malachai's stuff, but I really found out more about him when I connected with Joel, who is George Semper's son, based out of the UK as well. They also have some work together. He said, hey, you got to talk to my friend Malachai. So I said, absolutely. We made it happen, and I'm super, super happy to have you here today, Malachai. Give me 1 second while I bring Nick back. There we go.
Excellent, man. I'm really stoked to be here.
We're so super happy to have you. Nick, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
And one last thing I want to note real quick again. This is a show that is hosted by myself as well as Nicholas Retlid. He is the CEO, the founder, the operator of Soul Tune Records. So, Nick, I let everybody know we got the intro going on. We got about 7 questions. This is a live stream through the lens of my friends in Europe talking about funk and soul, from lost gems to the indie scene. We're here today with the debut episode. We're going to run this monthly, and then we're going to go from there. But this is going to be exclusive. All of our guests will be from Europe. So this makes this live stream a bit different. I'll go ahead and kick off questions. Malachai, first, I'd love it if you could just introduce yourselves, tell everyone your name, where you're from, and I kind of want you to dive into the history a little bit, from Skyline Records all the way up to Dynamite Cuts, and maybe you can talk about Jasmine Sevens.
Yeah, okay. So my name's Malachai Trout. I'm from the UK. I'm a big funk and soul collector, and I've always been into kind of music and kind of breaks, really, from when I was at school. That led me on to kind of want to do things with music. So in my early days, I was with a group called the Herbalizer. They were like good friends of ours. We've got good friends of mine. We started it when we were just finished school. Well, actually, a few years later. But then also I went off to go and do working kind of other record labels, kind of doing licensing, and then licensing, trying to do compilations. I used to work for a company called Master Cuts. They used to do these kind of, I don't know if they get them in the States, I'm sure you did, but they were kind of like just really good soul funk compilations on vinyl. And I used to learn how to kind of communicate, finding people in America. That got me on to do other things. So I used to was compiling for a thing called Hubbub Records, doing funky jams compilations. Then I went off a few years later and thought I'm going to start doing music. So once we did the Herbalizer, I thought I'd do a few other things. I did a thing called Flying Fish. Flying Fish, it was loaded with samples. So every time I took it somewhere, they say, oh, it's got too many samples in it. So the best thing to do was start your own record label. So 2005, I started Skyline Recordings. And that whole idea was basically putting out my music, things I liked for people I know. Hence the reason why I found Function, Mike Bandoni, The Family Fortune, Easy Access Orchestra, Delicious Digital, all these people. They're all kind of friends that I kind of went around with. My big love of music, just moving on as quickly as I can, my big love of music, I love 45s. And I saw that there was a kind of window, a market, a hole in the market where all these beautiful records are being reissued, but they come from these fantastic LPs. So, you know, the whole wonderful thing is to kind of get, you know, when you've got this wonderful, lovely album that we've all collected, like this one as well. So you've got James Brown, we've got the Black Caesar, we all had the one with the gatefold sleeve, you know, like this.
Yeah.
But for me, there was a massive hole in the market, so I had to make a little 7-inch version with the gatefold sleeve, you know, paying homage to it.
That's nice.
And that was the window. As soon as I started doing that, you know, I did He's Coming and made it look like exactly like the original LP with the gatefold front and everything, you know, and that was where it all started. So then Dynamite Cuts really got off, and I'm up to about 107 now, 108 releases. I'm covering a full spectrum of breaks, soul, rare groove, club dancers, film soundtracks, a few things you don't know, a few things you must know, and a lot of things you wish were on 45. Like, for instance, one of my big favorite things was...
Wow, that is super exciting. Wow.
Yeah.
As long as you've got the image right.
Well, I got to tell you, I thought it was absolutely... Oh.
Fine.
Huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, you have done a lot, you said. How many did you do so far?
I've done 110 releases.
110, all right.
Wow. Yeah, so I was doing, when I first started in 2017, I was doing about 4 titles a month. Yeah, wow. That's because A, I work quite closely with a record factory, and B, I was kind of, my slogan is reissuing music 24/7, and I literally was. If I wasn't emailing people in the UK or in Europe, at night time I was emailing people in America. So I was trying so much to release music, and then once it started rolling, it just rolled, and I couldn't stop it. You know, I just couldn't. It was fantastic. You know, I've got so many good releases. You know, I wanted to fill a record box, yeah, and now I filled the record box. I've bought a double, so now I've got to fill the other side.
That's fantastic. So, which one is your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Well, my favorite, you know, I mean, to be really honest, I was able to do James Mason. You know, that was the reason why I wanted to do it. Originally, because I used to work, basically, I don't know if I mentioned it as well, I helped Gerald, Jazzman Gerald, start Jazzman Records. Now, I did that because of, you know, I used to go around licensing, and I'd go to him and I'd go, oh, can I buy this record? And he'd go, yeah, that's £400. I'd go, £400? I can't spend that. I said, let's just reissue it. And he'd just go, really? And that's how it all started. It was quite easy to do, you know. No one was doing it. This was 1997. No one has done, you know, no one had contacted Universal to try and get so-and-so or Aaron Neville or Marlena Short. These things were standard to us, but, you know, the majors hadn't really thought about it. So that's where Jazzman just stepped in, and we stepped on the 45 market straight away.
Yeah.
And Hence, when he said to me, I've done 107 inches now. I'm going to stop jazz now 45s. And I went, there's my window. And Gerald went, yeah, just crack on. So me and Gerald are really good friends. So, you know, he's a big brother.
Yeah, he's done a lot of good releases, a lot of good deep funk tracks, at least, you know. Fantastic.
His knowledge and his ability is also fantastic. You know, I was there at the early days, but he's continued with his spiritual jazz compilations and his other things that he's been doing is just, you know, incredible.
Love that.
But so I've got
Nick, you're up.
Go on, man. Go, Nick.
Yeah. I was thinking. I mean, you've been around for a long time doing this, right?
Yeah.
So you have a certain memory that's something that happened that that needs to be told.
Well, I've got so many. See, the thing is, I'm 50. I'm like 52, so I've got some seriously good memories of musical things that I've done and funny little things that had come regarding the record labels or doing the music and stuff. Ooh, I've got a funny thing that not many people might know. So I said I was in a band earlier. And there was the Herbalizer, and the reason how everyone kind of thinks the name for the Herbalizer came through smoking weed. Yeah, it's not true, but it kind of has an element in there. But the reason why they were called the Herbalizer is because I'm dyslexic, so I'm not very good at reading names and stuff, and also spelling and stuff, which you sometimes will see in my sleep notes. But I like this German big band guy called Peter Herbelzheimer. Okay, and you probably all know him as kind of, he does Mr. Clean and Catfish, and there's lots of very famous tracks he's done. But I used to go and say, oh, you want to hear this track by the Herbalizer? Yeah, so I abbreviated his name down to the Herbalizer, and then hence Jake, when he went to go to sign the Ninja Chin deal, he used that as the name. So that's a kind of funny little anecdote for something as well as a pastime. I've got some other crazy stories, but you know what? We have to leave those to another time.
I love that. You know, so Malachai, for myself, I know as well as Nick and probably you, a lot of us discovered this funk and soul through sample-based music, sample junkie culture. I'd love it if both you and Nick could just kind of tell me, you know, what your experience is with the sample junkie culture and how you kind of both discovered music, right, that we know and love today and that we're repressing or so on like that. What was it like for you in Europe? Because that's something we really don't know a lot about.
Yeah, but I mean, I mean, for myself, I was brought up on hip hop basically. I was, you know, I started to listen to hip hop in early '80s when I was a kid. So, and then when they started to sample stuff, you know, I was like, I understood that this is something that they haven't played, you know. So, and I really liked it. So, the first track I heard was actually Bobby Bird, I Know You Got Soul. That was the first, you know, that I discovered. When I heard that track, the original track, it just blew my mind, you know. So, yeah, I've been since then, since the late '80s, I've been hooked on breaks and samples and everything around soul and funk and hip hop, basically. So,
me too. That's a very similar story. I mean, when I was at school, which was in the '80s, the early '80s, you know, hip hop was just kind of growing, and then there was electro music coming in, and then you were having people doing DJs. You've got Jazzy Jeff, you've got, you know, other kind of hip hop things slowly growing, and you'd know about these things like the Bronx tapes. I used to go around with Ollie Tiba. So Ollie Tiba was kind of, you know, Ollie Trap. Oh, wait, his name's Ollie Tiba. He's a UK kind of hip hop kind of. He does stuff for Southside, like a hip hop group. But anyway, so he used to have all these breaks and stuff, and then I kind of got into searching, and then me being me, I kind of went a little bit further than kind of your average person, and just I was a complete crate digger at like 15, 16 years old, but also very lucky because at those times, you know, I was buying records for £4, and they're like, I mean, I remember buying 10 copies or 5 copies of Eddie Bow, We're Doing It, for £4 each. But I used to, as I was saying to Nick, there used to be a thing called Soul Bowl, which was in the UK, and it was based in Norfolk. And this guy, John, he used to have this amazing warehouse just full of 45s. It was like a sweet shop of delights. And also, if at that time, almost everything you pulled out was funky, you know? So you just grow knowledge at those times. And because I was quite interested in the kind of sample-based stuff, you find something, you find the next thing, and you know, I was picking up a record going, I wonder what this is, playing it going, oh my God, look at that break. You know, that's just, you know. So that was my whole thing. And then I just got into collecting. And then once I get into collecting, the whole thing, the world just goes.
It's over.
It's over. I mean, I remember going to the UK in like late 80s, and I went into the soul jazz store, you know, and I looked at the wall there, and they had like 10 copies of Soul, what it is, you know, and I was, and I didn't know, I mean, I didn't know what it was, of course, you know, so I was listening, I was listening to it, and I was like, oh my God, this is good, you know, and they had, besides that, you had like 10 copies or even more, you know, I mean, they had, you know, they must have bought, you know, from a warehouse in the States or something, because they had like 10, 15 copies of Gators Bake, you know, the 45. Original didn't cost, I mean, $10 maybe. No, I mean, 10 pounds or 15.
Yeah. I got mine stolen. Long story. I had a box of records in the boot of my car. Yeah. And let me tell you, it was a treasure. At that time, I was doing compilations for a label called Hubbub Records. If you go on Discogs and type up Hubbub, Funky Jams, 4 and 5. If you look at the tracks on 4 and 5, I had all those records in this box. I went to a pub to give a friend of mine a Christmas card. I came out, my car had been broken into, and they took the box of records. I was devastated. It's taken me years to say get half of the records back. Some of them I couldn't get back. Like Swivel Your Hips was in there by the Gators, yeah. And I had that like years and years ago, and I've never seen another copy that I could afford to buy. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
One of my first records, sorry, I'll just cut in. So one of my first funk records that I ever bought, there used to be a place in London called Hanway Street, which was behind Virgin, and it's just up Oxford Street. And they used to have this record shop called Rocks Off, and it was like a kind of indie, kind of punky, kind of rock shop. But the guy in there had a box that he'd pull out from behind the counter, and it was his funk box. And I flicked through there, and I found this James Brown record by this lady called Lynn Collins, and it was called Think. And I looked at it and I played it and I was like, that is funky. That is brilliant. I looked at the year and it was 1973, I think. I hope that's correct. I was thinking, I was 4. Wow. And then I listened to it. I took it home and I played it to my friends and went, oh, that little loop there, that's going to be really famous. We should use that. Hence, you know, the Think sample, you know, 1984. It hadn't really been used too much, but now it's just everywhere. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was just when I discovered James Brown in the late 80s, I was just blown away, you know. I was just I couldn't even, you know. And I found another record and another one, and I was like, how many did this guy do, you know?
Oh yeah,
he was just
when the James Brown door opened, you know, that was it. See, in the early days as well, I actually liked trying to get compilations, because there used to be lots of bootleg compilations that would pop up.
Yeah, me too.
So you'd get kind of like, you know, one track that you knew and the rest of them you didn't. So then it's like, oh, and now I've got 7 more tracks to go and find, you know. And then then sometimes they were album tracks. So you go, oh my God, I'd listen to this track and go, oh wow. Then you go and search for that artist, and then and then your record collection's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you know.
Personally, I have never, you know, really cared much for bootlegs, you know, like compilations like that. But I had like 2 crates of compilations, you know, just for discovering new tracks. And I bought it. I maybe recorded it to a tape or something, and then I just sold it, you know. And I was like, I'm going to find the original one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when I was like 17, 18, 19, and in those days, there was quite a lot that would just pop up. There was a series called Pure, I think.
Yeah.
You know, Pure Volumes 1, 2, 3, and there was another one called Funk 1, and you know, those things. But they had some amazing tracks that I just never knew.
Yeah, those were great.
And also they were quite expensive at that time. You know, when I was younger, spending £50 on a record was quite a lot of money. I can remember when I bought my first James Mason LP. It cost me £25. I was like, and I'd heard it when I heard it on a pirate radio station. I was like, oh my God, this track's just brilliant. I have to find it. And I bought it £25. And then I bought another one, like about 3 or 4 months later for like £40, but it was sealed. I was like, and I've still got it. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's another story.
That's another story. All right.
So,
But you also mentioned Joel, yeah? So Joel's father was George Semper, yeah?
yes.
And going back to the Hubbub records, when I did the Hubbub compilations, the guy said, oh, I want to license some music from this guy. I was like, yeah, I'll find him. So I went off and I found George. And then George kind of became a bit of a friend. We used to speak on the phone and have a chat. You know, and then he sent me Perfect Circle.
Ooh.
But it's also signed. It's got a signature on the back. It just says, to Malachai, best wishes, my good friend. Hope you enjoy my LP. That's it.
Wow.
That's
really cool.
That's amazing. You know, looking through all the titles that you have released for, you know, on the Dynamite Cuts label, you know, I can just see the musical journey, you know, in Europe from the late 80s, the 90s, you know, up till now. You know, it's like so similar. Basically, I mean, Swedish. We were really influenced by the UK scene, you know. So it was easy to go there, you know. So I mean, it was just fun to see.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, it's kind of been a whole labour of love, and it's also the reason for doing it was really because I think it's the LP, the artwork is as good as the music as well. So my often thing is, if I can't get the artwork, then I probably won't use the LP. You know, I won't license. You know, hence those. But that comes when it comes, because that's owned by, you know, when you license from like the majors, they own the whole things. Sometimes I've licensed and I've had to go and clear the photograph because the person said, some of the records I've done, they've got, you know, you have to credit, you have to find the photograph, you have to find the owner. Some of them have died, so you have to go and find something. But so far, touch wood, everything, I've found everybody, and that's my whole thing is I like doing it legit. You know, licensing is kind of really important. It's an important thing to because it can be done. Bootlegging is easy, cheap, and it's a bit kind of like unfair, especially to the people that you're bootlegging it from, because some of them are older now, and you know what? They could do with a little bit of cash or a bit of royalty, or not even that, even just a little bit of kudos to go, wow, people are talking about my tune again, or something along those ways, you know. So I try my hardest to kind of, you know, veer away from all that. Hence the reason for doing it so legit and getting the artwork and standing up, going, you know, this is me. You know, I'm Dynamite Cut.
That's great.
Real quick. We got to go to the questions. Otherwise, we're going to just talk through all of them.
I'm sorry.
So one thing I'd really love to know, I remember in the beginning you said you were doing up to 4 releases a month. I would love to know from cradle to grave what the process is like from the moment that you realize, ooh, I want to make this, you know, into a 7-inch version. What is the process cradle to grave? How does it start? How long does it take? And what are some of the challenges that you've, you know, experienced trying to do this over and over again?
Well, basically the whole thing is obviously you have to have a good collection of records to look through. Yeah. Okay. So you find your record, you find your title, you find the record label. You then go to try and find the original label. If it's been defunct, often even Discogs is very helpful. It will give you now owned by or a parent company. You can often find them that way. And then you just go back on that search. Fortunately, some of the big artists, you know, like the Commodores, the Roy Ayers, they're owned by the majors. So you often send an email. You know, it might take a couple of weeks for them to get back. It might take 2 months for them to clear things. But they often go through it. Sometimes they deny it and say, sorry, we're going to do that, or you can't do this. Sometimes you can clear it. But there's always fees and royalties and all this type of stuff. That's where it gets a bit tricky. But really, it's kind of like, if you can find like an artist and then, you know, you make a good deal, a respectable deal or a respectable offer to license it, it shouldn't take more than, say, 6 months. Although I have been working on something for the last 14 months. Yeah, and I still haven't clinched the deal. Well, not clinched the deal. Wow. It just hasn't gone. You know, it's a 3-party thing, and you've got to let A talk to B, so B can talk to C, and C can talk back to A. You know, it's a funny process, but it's fun. And that's what I said. So when I was doing 4 a month, it really was that I was working so hard. I was clearing so many records that I just had, you know, one just consecutive releases. And the good thing was when I released them, they sold. So then I was able to press the next one and press the next one and press the next one, and it just goes. If you've got the format right, which I think, you know, doing the sleeves, putting that little bit of extra, it's a smaller bracket. You know, if you remember, the sleeves cost £500-600 to make, so that's £500-600 I'm taking away from, you know, me making some money. So, you know, the margins get smaller. But to be honest, I'd rather have a smaller margin and a better product.
Yeah,
you know?
I love that.
All about
I love that.
That's, I mean, me too, no doubt. I mean, I would never do a bad pressing or something just because it's cheap, you know. No way. I mean, it's supposed to be good.
Sometimes it does happen. You know, sometimes, you know, you've got your TP, you check your TP, you said, yes, that's what I want. They go to the pressing plant, you get it back, and you don't know, you've got all the records pressed, you've sent them out, and then you get an email from someone saying, I bought this record, and it sounds shit. And you're like, oh. And then you have to quickly panic, go around. Oh, right, if there is a fault, sometimes some of them get a fault, sometimes not. But, you know, I try my hardest to make sure that the product is as tip-top as I can. You know, I use a really good mastering engineer called Stuart Hawkes. You know, he's a Grammy award-winning mastering engineer. You know, he doesn't just do funk and soul. He does, like, pop, jazz, drum and bass, soul, everything, you know.
All right, so he knows what he's doing.
He knows his mustard, yeah.
So we got the process. We learned about that. But you said you've got over 100 titles. I'd love to know what are some of your favorite. Maybe you could show us. Maybe some of the ones that are out, and maybe you can tell us what's for store in the future from Dynamite Cuts.
Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite things that I've managed to do. I mean, I managed to do the Skull Snaps.
Oh,
yeah,
that was an early release, but unfortunately, that's not available anymore. You know, that was one of those hip hop wonders. And the main reason for doing this, you know, everybody knows it's a new day, yeah. But I put Trespassing, which is the organised confusion.
Yeah.
Which is the organised confusion loop, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the main reason for doing this. Other than that, the cover's sick and brilliant. But, you know, I even got a little picture. I licensed it from the band themselves, you know, so I managed to sort it all out, which was lovely.
Wow.
I think one of my favourites, as I said, it could be, I did Mighty Riders as well.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's another early day one. So I did a little Mighty Riders, Evil Vibrations. But my favourite one, I think one of my big ones at the moment, which is actually just about to come out, is this one. This is by Hector Costito. This is a jazz thing, but I've also made it's a gatefold sleeve.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
And I've also kind of put there's an insert in there which kind of tells a little story, and this story is amazing, right?
Oh my God.
This guy here. So this guy's a clarinet player. He's originally a clarinet player. But anyway, quickly, I'll say it really quickly. A friend of his said, "Come and play in a band," and he goes, "Oh yeah, I'll come and play in your band." He goes, "You want you to play saxophone?" He goes, "Yeah, but I don't really have a saxophone." He goes, "Don't worry, you can borrow mine." I said, "Oh, great. Who was your friend?" He went, "Lalo Schifrin." I'm like, "It's in, mate." So yeah, this is a Vessos. This is a 10-minute record, cut at 33 on a 7-inch. Okay.
Wow.
The quality is amazing. It's not a DJ play-out tune, yeah, but it's so beautiful. Yeah, it
is beautiful.
So worth doing, and it's on the original Som Gente label, which is just it's the whole detail. So that's one of my favourite things at the moment. And then coming out.
I really like that you pay, you know, all the details. Some good attention, and so you really, you know, that's beautiful.
To me, when I bought the original LP, so my friend Kaidi Tatum, he was in the Herbalizer with me when we started everything. I used to bring this LP over, and I used to say, Kaidi, play it. And he'd go, it was, you know, absolutely great days. So I had to do the homage and do just like what the Brazilians did and put a little insert in with a story.
Yeah.
I want to buy it just for the packaging.
Yeah. And the next thing's coming out, which is coming out probably in November, are these three. We got all the World and Irving big stomping LPs. All now on 7-inch. So I've got Fat Mouth. You've got Bananas and Deja Vu. I've got a 3.5 minute edit of Deja Vu. See, when Weldon wanted a 7-inch of this years and years ago, to come out, but it never came out. So I managed to get this, and I managed to get a 7-inch cut the exact same way probably would have done it.
Wow.
And I've got this one as well from the first LP. Got Mr. Clean on here and Homie.
Oh my gosh!
So they're
I need
all
all
coming out.
those. All
And then
those.
I've got this one as well. So I've got the Whatnauts.
Yeah.
This is going to be a big one. And the only reason why I've done this is because this is an official release, you know. And things like this, I think, are really important to actually put out. You know, bootleg and stuff like this is just not good. You know, these type of things, you know, really good music like this needs to be shown and needs to be kind of done correctly. And it's available. You know, I just made one phone call and I got it in 3 days. Got an email back saying, yeah, you can put it out. I was like, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I've just done Judy Roberts. I don't know if you guys did it. Judy Roberts is like a jazz fusion lady. She did Never Was Love. Killer track. Kind of a real classic jazz funk track. But this has got The Other World on it and some of her other greats. But yeah, so they're my favourites at the moment.
I'm excited. I love Weldon Irvine.
Yeah, Weldon's coming out. I mean, that's a real homage. I mean, I met Weldon as well back in the 90s, because when I used to work for Hubbub Records, as I said, they also reissued the Nodlow LPs on Hubbub. So we got in contact with him, and I kind of had a bit of a relationship. Which he phoned me when he come to England. He came to do a concert with Mos Def. And he phoned me and said, "Do you want to come out for a drink?" And I've met him, and he's such.
Wow.
He was the most calmest. He was a really calm and really gentle man. And you know, I felt quite privileged to meet him, and I feel even more privileged to be able to put these three tracks out.
I love that.
Really good, man.
Great music.
So one of my next questions is, and this has a lot to do with kind of my experience going overseas, you know, whether it was in Amsterdam, Dublin. Every time I go into the record stores, I would see a lot of US releases, soul and funk that we all know, we recognize by the album cover. But what I was really looking for was records that were local to the area, to the region. And I'd love to know, just from your perspective, right? Because we got the UK, we've got Sweden. What are the records that we haven't seen yet that you all know about that are local to where you're from that are great records? Did anything come to mind?
Nick,
I mean,
you go first. You go first.
Yeah, I mean, we have that's actually has been reissued like a year or two ago. It's a group called Husselmott. It's a really hard, you know, hard funk record from '71. It's really good. You know about it?
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah. You don't know?
I don't.
I do.
Yeah, you do. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's but that's like a you know, $1,000 record right now if you find it original. So it's at least. So it's but it's. I mean, you have and then you had a lot of US. I mean, a lot of Americans coming to Sweden in the late '60s, you know, early '70s, and they released some great music over here. You know, fusion, basically early fusion. You know, jazz with a, you know, like a little funk influences, but a lot of jazz stuff. So you have a few really good stuff. Actually,
You know what I really wish is that I was next to my record, so I could just flick through and grab out all the things that I know, that I can remember. You know, I mean, there's a load of good Swedish stuff as well. Is Bo Hansson? Is he Swedish?
Yeah.
Is it Bo? There's a track on that LP that's something about a trick. It's called 90 Degrees of the Sun. It's like a mellow track with Rhodes. Oh, it's so beautiful. But
Love the Rhodes.
So going to the UK stuff. I've just done this. So
That's a great one. I love that.
Brass,
Yeah.
So this is basically a cheesy kind of easy listening band from the UK 70s. You know, it features a guy called Ray Davies on trumpet. You know,
Yes.
It's got classic photos. You know, it's got that kitschy 70s dancing lady, you know, type thing. But this is a cover version of Superstition. Yeah. And it's absolutely amazing. It's if you play it at 45 green light, it's okay. It's got a nice tempo to it. But if you drop it down to -6, it becomes a whole new tune. It just goes right down as a head funk thing, man. And this is a little gem. This is a little gem, I tell you. So this is coming out on Dynamite. It's actually out now.
Great. I saw that you released Alice Babs.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That again, essential jazz piece.
Yeah.
Essential.
Yeah.
That's so. That track is just amazing. And the funny thing was, I knew Alice Babs' version. I never knew that Carole King wrote it.
No.
Well, it is Carole King, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Alice Babs is a Swedish jazz singer who did, she was famous from back in the, I think early 50s,
Yeah.
At
She
least.
did many covers, didn't she? She did lots of covers, lots of jazz stuff and that,
Yeah. And she was kind of old when she did that, actually. That came out in 73, I think. So she was in her 50s at least when she did that, Yeah. So quite unexpected, if you listen to her older stuff, and then
What a
this
version,
came.
though. What a version. Up tempo, absolutely brilliant. On that jazz indie stuff, indie vocal stuff, and that's essential. They're things as well, like, the LP is not very much, it's about £25, but it's an essential 45, a bit like Nanette Nattel. I don't know if you know Nanette Nattel. She just track called It's Over. It's an American jazz lady. It's like one of those jazz dance tracks from the 90s, quite big in the UK. And also, I've done Nancy Ames. Do you know Nancy Ames? Cat Carrara. It's like a Brazilian track, absolutely explosive.
Yeah.
So I think
that's
female
heavy.
vocal on a jazz tip.
No, that is fantastic. I see we're coming to the close of our fireside chat here. What I'd love to know, Malachai, you showed some gems to us. The product looks phenomenal, but how do we get it? Tell us where we can find you, where we can find the records, where we can learn more about you, and even stream your music if it's available.
Okay. I mean, everything should be available on my Bandcamp. I've got a Dynamite Cuts Bandcamp, which is the easiest way to kind of do it from around the world. You can purchase it around the world. We send it all tracked and signed for. There are other stores. Obviously, you've got Jazzman Records, you've got Juno, you've got other great record stores around the world which take our stuff. Kenny does their stuff. There's I'm terrible with names. Places in San Francisco that does them as well. So there's lots of places. America does hold some of my catalogue. Obviously, the Bandcamp's the best way to get it, I would say.
Yeah.
I do good rates, and everything gets there safe and sound.
Listen, I got one question. I need you to work out maybe like a bulk deal for me so I can get one big package at once. I can't add
He wants all of them.
record on Bandcamp, right? So we're going to have to talk about that in detail.
We can talk about that later. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can come to something there. Definitely, sir. Definitely.
No,
It's
very,
been a
very
pleasure
cool.
doing this. It's been a pleasure meeting both of you.
Yeah.
So many
Really
great insights, and I would love to maybe do a part 2 at some time. But this was phenomenal. I'm going to go ahead and share this with everybody, and I think we're going to get a lot of playbacks because I saw someone mention there were lots of name drops. I can't believe all the good music that you guys put out on the table for us that we just don't know about. And this is exactly why Nick and I are doing Soul Bros, so that we can get a different lens on funk and soul from lovers from Europe and so on like that. And we can all learn more. It's bringing people together. And I had to tell everybody about Dynamite Cuts. I just don't think anyone's doing it with Lost Gems in the 45 scene. And that premium quality, that level. When you pulled out that insert, it was like, wait, there's more. That's where it's at. And I'm so happy.
That's really from the heart,
Yeah.
That's really from the heart, I love it.
I must admit, it took me a long time to get that label, the Somtagente label. No one's ever licensed from Somtagente. I am the first person to license from a third party. So that's a real honor for me.
That's exclusive. That's props.
Exclusive,
That's
man. Exclusive.
Props. All right.
Malachai, actually, Nick, I'll let you, I'll turn it over to you if there's any more questions you want to ask, anything you want to say to the audience.
I mean, we should definitely do a part 2 of this because it's so much to talk about, So
Yeah. I'll get some records closer to me. Look, we didn't even talk about the funk records. I was going to say some of my.
Yeah, we have to take that next time then, though.
That's a sick tune. B-boy breaks, mate. Absolutely. But anyway, we'll do that in part 2. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. No
Gentlemen,
doubt.
thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Have a great
you.
night. I think it's close to 10, 11 o'clock, maybe midnight out there. It's lunchtime for me. So I thank you so much. This was an awesome live stream. Everyone watching, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll have the stream up later. If you don't share it for me, please share it for the guests. This was an awesome episode. Lots of great insights. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Cheers, boys. Thank you, Nick.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care, everyone.
Nice talking.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This was our debut live stream, Nick and Wax, Soul Brothers. Again, this is about funk and soul, lost gems to new indie releases, but on a global level and through the lens of my friends in Europe. We're going to do this, I think, once a month. We've got big guests lined up. Timian Records is going to be coming in the future, and we're only going to have guests from Europe on this live stream. So it's going to be different from your 2 Gents, your 2 Grams, and everything else that's going on in the Waxvillain network. Thank you all so much. I'll see you later. 6 o'clock, we got the Escapers in the building. 2 Gents Fireside Chat. You know how we do. Take care.